Today's top stories. Malacanang welcomes the latest SWS survey showing a very good performance rating on the Duterte administration. Malacanang says the International Criminal Court would be violating its own provisions if it will force its jurisdiction over the Philippines. The Department of Health warns the public against the dangers of heat stroke, especially with the coming of the dry season. And Task Force Bangon Marawi provides strength and hope to the people of Marawi City through its rehabilitation programs.
Good day, I'm William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. Malacanang welcomed the latest SWS survey showing a very good performance rating on the Duterte administration. The survey also shows that more Filipinos are satisfied with the government. Rom Dulfo has the story.
Majority of Filipinos express satisfaction with the Duterte administration's performance in the last quarter of 2018 based on the latest SWS survey released Tuesday. In the nationwide survey, SWS found 76% of Filipinos satisfied, 15% neither satisfied nor dissatisfied, and 9% dissatisfied with the general performance of the current national administration. This translates to a net satisfaction rating of plus 66 or very good. SWS points out the latest net rating is 16 points higher than the very good plus 50 in September last year. The present administration received excellent ratings on promoting women's rights and building and maintenance of public works. Malacanang said the high satisfaction rating garnered by the Duterte administration is a vote of public confidence, showing that Filipinos continue to trust the government. Presidential spokesman Sal Panelo also said the survey results dispute criticisms that the president is anti-human rights and anti-poor. He also noted that the Build, Build program and Marawi rehabilitation scored high satisfaction ratings. Panelo assures that the administration will work harder to give Filipinos more comfortable lives within the last 3 years of the administration. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Rom Dulfo.
President Rodrigo Duterte says if the Philippine government continues to operate on a reenacted budget, the country's growth rate will take a blow. Duterte made this remark warning that all Filipinos will suffer from declining gross domestic product or GDP rate if delays in the approval of the proposed 3.757 trillion peso national budget will be prolonged. He pointed out that even law enforcement authorities will suffer under a reenacted budget. Congress has yet to transmit the General Appropriations Bill for 2019 to the President due to a budget impasse between the two houses of Congress. Senate President Vicente Soto III said he will not sign an enrolled copy of the budget bill for the President's signature if the lower chamber insists on its amendments. Duterte acknowledged ongoing debates between the two houses and insisted that he would not sign an illegal document. It was not clear whether Duterte was referring to the GAB for 2019. Presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo said that although he is confident that Congress would eventually agree on the budget bill, he hopes the government would no longer have to operate on a reenacted budget until August. The Department of Education condemned the barbaric murder of a grade 9 student in Lapu-Lapu City, Cebu, and urged authorities to hasten the perpetrator's arrest. The victim is a 16-year-old student of Maribago High School. She was found dead on a vacant lot on Monday after serving as the tithe collector for church on Sunday. According to police reports, the victim was raped, murdered before being skinned to the skull. DepEd said its school's division office of Lapu-Lapu City already issued a memorandum reminding all public and private elementary and secondary schools to strengthen their existing rules and policies on school safety. In a statement, the department calls on the local government unit and the police to swiftly bring out to justice the cold-blooded criminals. It likewise enjoins the public in the shared responsibility of protecting children from all forms of abuse, violence, exploitation, and threats. The DepEd expressed its deepest condolences to the grieving family and requested its community for voluntary contribution to provide the bereaved with adequate financial assistance. PNP Chief Oscar AlbaAldea is representing the country in a counterterrorism meeting hosted by the United States. PNP spokesperson Bernard Banak says AlbaAldea was invited to the 10-day mission by the Federal Bureau of Investigation or FBI to discuss ways to combat criminality. Joining AlbaAldea is PNP Deputy Chief for Administration Fernando Mendez Jr. AlbaAldea designates Deputy Director General Francisco Gamboa as officer in charge. Malacanang shrugs off the comments of Special Envoy Mon Tulfo against Filipino workers, and the Ninoy Aquino International Airport reshuffles its immigration officials. More on these and other news around the metro from Benj Bondo.
Malacanang sees no effect on the reputation of Filipino workers from the recent comments of Special Envoy to China Mon Tulfo. Presidential spokesman Salvador Panelo maintains that Filipinos enjoy a good reputation in other countries as hardworking and skillful workers. Panelo said Tulfo's comments were relayed by developers who noticed the working attitude of some Filipinos. He said he will discuss the matter with Tulfo to clarify the issue. Meanwhile, a routine reshuffle has been implemented involving 24 immigration supervisors and intelligence officers assigned at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport. BI Commissioner Jaime Morente says the reorganization is part of his policy to shake up the system to prevent fraternization and corruption. The BI is also implementing a rotation system for heads to encourage fresh ideas on how to improve terminal management. In other news, operatives of the National Bureau of Investigation arrested a suspected member of the terrorist Abu Sayyaf group in Taguig City. The suspect, identified as Salahim Dawani alias Abu Muads, has a standing arrest warrant in connection with the kidnapping of several workers at the Golden Harvest Plantation in Tayran, Lantawan, Basilan in 2001. He was allegedly among those who served as augmentation force to the ASG brigades who kidnapped victims at the diving resort in Sipadan, Pulau, Sabah, Malaysia on April 23, 2000. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Benj Bondo.
Still to come, Malacanang says the International Criminal Court would be violating its own provisions if it will force its jurisdiction over the Philippines. And the Court of Appeals turned down the appeal of online news website Rattler and its holding company Rattler Holdings Corporation against the SEC's move to revoke its business registration. More on this when the PNA Newsroom continues.
Sa ginagawa ng presidente. March 3, Lunes, Basilan. Dumalo si Pangulong Rodrigo Roa Duterte sa groundbreaking ceremony ng Isabela City Gymnasium. March 4, Martes, Malacanang. Pinangunahan ng Pangulo ang 35th Cabinet Meeting sa Aguinaldo State Dining Room. March 6, Miyerkules, Malacanang. Nag-courtesy call sa Pangulo ang Deputy Prime Minister ng Vietnam at ang First Deputy President of the Supreme Council for Youth and Sports of the Kingdom of Bahrain. Dumalo siya sa unang anibersaryo ng Presidential Anti-Corruption Commission sa Malacanang. Itinaas ni Pangulong Duterte ang ranggo ni Brigadier General Jose Riel Niembra at itinalagang bagong commander ng Presidential Security Group. Pinanumpa niya ang bagong governor ng Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas na si dating Budget Secretary Benjamin Jokno. March 7, Huwebes, Malacanang. Tinanggap ni Pangulong Duterte sa palasyo si Malaysian Prime Minister Mahathir Mohamad sa 3-day official visit nito sa Pilipinas. Nagkaroon ng expanded bilateral meeting sa pagitan ng Pilipinas at Malaysia sa paunguna ng dalawang head of state.
This is a valuable opportunity to renew and reaffirm valued relations that must continue to grow in strength in the coming years. With the Philippines and Malaysia staying on track as part of the growth engines of Asia and the world, broadening our engagement across many fields will be crucial for the continued benefit of our nations and people.
My visit is, of course, in order to strengthen the relationship between Malaysia and the Philippines, and also, of course, to promote the cause of ASEAN.
Isang state banquet ang inihanda ni Pangulong Duterte para sa Prime Minister at delegasyon nito.
And I believe there is no better time than now to acknowledge him as a friend, partner, and brother. To Malaysia and the Philippines, may our country flourish and grow for 1,000 years. Mabuhay!
Ako po si Secretary Martin Andanar at ito ang Duterte on Duty. Abangan sa susunod na linggo ang mga gagawin ng Pangulo.
Malacanang says if the International Criminal Court will force its jurisdiction over the Philippines to investigate the Duterte administration's war on drugs, this would mean that it would be violating its own provisions. Presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo says the ICC can start an investigation on a withdrawing member only if a preliminary investigation was done. The Philippines is withdrawing from the Rome Statute forming the ICC effective March 17. Panelo says going further with an investigation only means the ICC will break its rules. He says the Philippines is not under the jurisdiction of the ICC as the agreement it supposedly signed in 2018 was not published in the official gazette, making it invalid. The Court of Appeals turned down the appeal of online news website Rattler and its holding company, Rattler Holdings Corporation, against the Securities and Exchange Commission's move to revoke its business registration for violating the Constitution and foreign equity restrictions in mass media. In a 25-page resolution, Associate Justice Rafael Antonio Santos said there is no merit on the motion for partial reconsideration filed by Rattler on the case. However, the CA says it will not preempt the evaluation and the subsequent finding and conclusion of the SEC, which will investigate the legal effect of the alleged donation of foreign funds by Medyar into Rappler's operations. Rattler claims that the constitutional limitations on foreign investments does not apply to it since it is not a mass media entity as defined by a 1976 law limiting the ownership and management of mass media to citizens of the Philippines. Contrary to the firm's claim, the CA said that Rattler is a media entity since under a later law, Republic Act No. 9211, the definition of mass media was expanded to include electronic media such as the Internet. San Miguel Corporation is building roads out of recycled plastic to help reduce the impact of plastic waste on the environment. SMC President and COO Ramon Ang said the initiative follows earlier commitments to improve water sustainability and address solid waste pollution. SMC will be working with Dow Chemical for the project that will use hard-to-recycle plastics as an alternative raw material input to asphalt for road building. Recycled plastics for road surfacing are said to improve stability and durability, increase skid resistance, lengthen lifespan of roads, lower asphalt cost, and use less waste. SMC will test out the technology in small municipal roads as well as sidewalks and parking lots. If the technology proves effective and meets all safety and quality requirements, the company may roll it out for larger infrastructure projects. The Philippine National Police or PNP denounced the attack in Motyong, Samar allegedly launched by the New People's Army. The two police officers were on board a patrol car along the national road when armed men detonated an anti-personnel mine and attacked them. Killed on the spot was Police Staff Sergeant Glenn Meñano, while patrolwoman Jane Abehar was hit by a shrapnel. A civilian was also injured. The rebels burned the police vehicle after the said attack. The NPA in eastern Visayas admitted the attack and torching the police car in a social media post on Monday afternoon. Both the United States and European Union have declared the CPP-NPA as a terrorist group. Cebu City addresses the water shortage brought about by El Nino. Meanwhile, Eastern Eastmincom vows support for the self-determination of indigenous peoples. More on these and other stories from the provinces from Janice Cabe.
In Cebu, The city government is set to release 10 million pesos to initially address the water supply problem in 29 mountain villages that are now experiencing the effects of mild El Nino. The budget will be used to buy water containers and drums, power sprayers, water pumps, and water hoses for irrigation. Mountain barangays will be put under state of calamity should Pag-asa classify them as drought-affected. Meanwhile, the Eastern Mindanao Command expressed its support for the self-determination of indigenous peoples, or IPs, in the Davao region. The East Mincom said IPs are one of the primary stakeholders of peace in Eastern Mindanao, and they are the most vulnerable to the abuses of the New People's Army. It has vowed to continue implementing peace and development programs as well as culture and conflict sensitivity to develop IPs. In Davao City, the Department of Tourism hailed the removal of the closure order on several inland resorts in Marilog and Paquibato District. DOT Davao Region Director Tanya Rabat-Tan called on the owners of the affected resorts to follow regulations and DOT standards. The Business Bureau office closed down the resorts in Marilog and Paquibato District for lacking the permit to operate. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Janice Cavett.
Up next, the Department of Health warned the public against the dangers of heat stroke, especially with the coming of the dry season. And Task Force Bangon Marawi provides strength and hope to the people of Marawi City through its rehabilitation programs. The PNA Newsroom returns after these reminders.
Ngayong araw nakipagpulong ang Philippine delegation sa mahigit 20 UN representatives ng iba't ibang permanent mission dito sa Geneva at sa mga kinatawan ng UN Human Rights Council. Matagumpay na nailatag ng delegasyon ang mga human rights mechanism ng AFP at PNP at ang sitwasyon ng press freedom sa Pilipinas. Importante ang diskusyon na ito para mas maintindihan ng mga taga-UN ang tunay na estado ng bansa at maiwasan ang disinformation.
Now, in situations where non-state actors and terrorist groups commit violations, an individual or a group's human rights and fundamental freedoms, misappropriate the human rights defender's title to gain international sympathy and evade prosecution, states' efforts to uphold the rule of law, provide redress for victims, and protect the rights of legitimate human rights defenders are seriously compromised, further face condemnation from the international community.
The Armed Forces of the Philippines is an institution that has put in place complaint and investigation mechanisms to address cases of human rights violations by its personnel. These mechanisms have been established by law, enacted to address widespread human rights violations by military personnel, drawing from bitter lessons in authoritarianism during martial law. Let me assure you all that the AFP does not tolerate actions that violate the human rights of any Filipino or any person.
The peace and order situation in the Philippines has significantly improved, as shown by the decrease in total crime rate in 2018 compared to previous years. The campaign against illegal drugs has proven that more crimes can be prevented and reduced.
Finally, there were points raised recently on the state of freedom of the press, freedom of opinion and expression, and safety of journalists in the Philippines. The government remains firmly committed to preserving and promoting democracy and providing a safe environment for the free press.
Press freedom is alive and kicking in the Philippines, and journalists there, whom we rather call media workers, are very much more protected now under the administration of President Duterte than before. I should know because I was part of various task forces in the past also, and nothing happened.
The Department of Health, or DOH, warns the public against the dangers of heat stroke, especially with the coming of the dry season. Heat stroke happens when the body temperature reaches 40 degrees Celsius and up due to constant heat exposure. Heat stroke can damage the brain, heart, kidneys, and muscles. It may also lead to severe complications and even death. DOH Secretary Francisco Duque III advises the public to drink lots of water to avoid dehydration and to stay indoors between 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. when the sun is at its hottest. To keep cool during the hot days, wear thin, loose, and light-colored clothes and drink water rather than tea, coffee, and other carbonated drinks. In our foreign news, Malaysia's new King Sultan Abdullah Sultan Ahmad Shah called for national unity on Monday during his first parliamentary address. Abdullah, who was sworn in as Malaysia's 16th king on January, urged Malaysians to work towards unity. He highlighted the need to increase the numbers of entrepreneurs, inventors, and innovators, and to urge small and medium enterprises to increase their productivity and be able to compete at the global level. The new parliament will convene to plot and enact new policies until April 11. In sports, the DepEd Schools Division of Gov't City clinched the overall championship in this year's Region 1 Athletic Association meet in Laoag City. The Gov't City won 87 gold medals, 64 silvers, and 55 bronzes. This is followed by Pangasinan 2, whose delegates dominated archery, badminton, table tennis, volleyball, and wushu. Pangasinan took home 57 gold, 52 silver, and 43 bronze medals, while Ilocos Norte had a close finish of 56 gold, 39 silver, and 61 bronze medals respectively. The Gov't City displayed its fierce form to defend its title from last year's regional competition, consistently showing its best in arnis, boxing, swimming, and aerogymnastics. As champion, it will field the most number of athletes who will represent Region 1 in the Palarong Pambansa in Davao City on April 2019. Task Force Bangon Marawi provides strength and hope to the people of Marawi City through its rehabilitation programs. Let us find out how TFBM helps in bringing back normalcy in Marawi City. Wilnard Barcelona filed this report.
Amid reports that Marawi City remains a ghost town, Sultans here issued a statement asserting that normalcy still reigns in the war-torn city. It was clarified on the Marawi City Sultanate League's official statement that Marawi City is in a normal situation except for the 24 barangay most affected area, or MMA, of the war against ISIS-linked Maute group. According to MSL President Sultan Nasser Sampaco, MAA is just 250 hectare out of almost 8,000 hectare land area of the whole city.
If you look at the meaning of a ghost town, it means it is a deserted area, a former boom town who is now in decay. Pero kayo, nakakapunta kayo sa Marawi, makikita ninyo na yung normalcy is there now. Except for the 24 barangays.
Sultan Sampaco added that MAA is still under debris clearing and is not yet declared safe.
They have also to consider na yung MAA, walang tubig doon at saka walang electricity. Kaya it is not advisable na bumalik ka doon. Pero ang sabi ng Task Force Bangon Marawi, as soon as the debris management is completed, they will allow the people to go back to reconstruct their private properties along with the government programs.
Since the formation of the Task Force Bangon Marawi, MSL has been monitoring the rehabilitation. They also believe in TFBM Chairperson and Housing and Urban Development Coordinating Council Secretary Eduardo Del Rosario's sincerity.
In fact, sinabi rin namin na the creation of the Task Force Bangon Marawi gives a tangible hope and strength to the people of Marawi. So, siguro, we have to support them. We have to unite and support the Task Force Bangon Marawi. Tulad ng sinabi namin dito, they cannot reconstruct Marawi by their bare hands. Saka yung trabaho nila is confined with the existing laws.
MSL is one of the oldest group of sultans in Ranao area, organized since August 14, 1954. It is comprised of 11 royal houses represented by respected sultans who are usually consulted by local leaders in decision-making and also help in settling local feuds. For PNA Newsroom, Wilnard Basalonia, Philippine Information Agency.
Let's now check out the weather forecast for Metro Manila and the rest of the country. Let's take another look at today's biggest stories.
Malacanang welcomes the latest SWS survey showing a very good performance rating on the Duterte administration. Malacanang says the International Criminal Court would be violating its own provisions if it will force its jurisdiction over the Philippines. The Department of Health warns the public against the dangers of heat stroke, especially with the coming of the dry season. And Task Force Bangon Marawi provides strength and hope to the people of Marawi City through its rehabilitation programs.
Thank you for watching another edition of the PNA Newsroom. To check out these and other stories, visit the PNA website or follow the Philippine News Agency on Facebook and Twitter. For more stories about the government and how it serves the Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. And that's your daily dose of the latest news and information that you need to know. From the PNA Newsroom, I am William Theo. Good day.